Hello out there. Welcome back to Nature of the Business, episode 8. I'm David.
And I'm Monique.
And today we're going to be talking about a product that was like a surprise hit in the history of YGN, our men's turban. I think we launched the men's turbans back in 2021. So we've been selling them for almost 3 years now. Similar to the swim turban, it has been one of these products that we didn't expect to be as big as it's become. And so we wanted to share with you the origin story of the men's turban and some of the most interesting moments that we've had as we've brought this product to market. Do you have anything else you want to talk about around the men's turban?
Yeah, of course, the patent process and, the journey of just learning the customer through this product. I think it's going to be an interesting story.
Cool. As usual, we're going to start in the beginning. And what were the origins of the men's turban? For the first 6 years or so, or first 4 to 5 years of YGN's history, we were selling products to women. What made you think that men would also want to buy turbans?
So for the first 4 years, like you said, we were selling women turbans, and they were just the satin line turbans at the time. Our t-shirt turban was one of our most popular products. So it has like a cap, and then you twist and tie it, and then it's good to go. It's like an easy tie turban made out of t-shirt material. And I started to see men wearing the women's turban, but they were feeling a little uncomfortable, of course, because we only marketed to women. And of course, it was a need for them. And this was men with locks. It was a need for them, but they, of course, when you're wearing what feels like a woman's product, are shy away from talking about it as much. We would get tagged in men using the product, but they were jokey about it. One guy was singing like Erykah Badu. He put it on and he was singing Erykah Badu, and he was jokey about it. But I'm like, but that was an actual need for you. Like, you actually wanted the. And so I went to my in-house designer at the time and I said, hey, maybe we should work on a men's product, because it seems like the men are picking this product up and wanting it. And so we got to work, and that we just went through like the trends around men's headwear. Wasn't a whole lot around men's turbans at the time. So we were just thinking about reimagining what that would look like. At the time, I guess what men were wearing were mostly do-rags and wave caps and maybe like ball caps. But there was nothing a little more elevated, or I guess, or like stylish as far as what men wore. There is like a pocket of men who wear what's called like a shamag, which is like a Middle Eastern inspired head wrap that you tie yourself around your wraps. And so that's what we started to form our first designs around. And that's where we came up with the Halo Turban, is around that shamag style head.
Yeah, that's really cool. Just looking at where do we start with this and going back to these historical, timeless feeling looks and products that people have been wearing for thousands of years that inspired the first version of the men's turban today. What was the process of deciding what the product assortment would be at launch? How did you think the men's turban was going to do when it was released?
We split it up into 3 different pockets of people. We split it up into men with long hair, long locks specifically, men with short cuts, and who would typically wear like a do-rag or something like that, and men with like short tapered haircuts that have just maybe a short amount of hair. And so we came up with 3 different styles. That would be our Halo Turban that you're wearing right now, which was actually designed for men with short hair, but ended up being picked up by everybody. Our men's t-shirt turban, which had a lot of space in the cap, that was similar to our women's turban that we had already seen other people picking up. And our men's open turban, which was made to just wrap that around the edges of the hair and hold your hair up or style it in a way that might be a little bit different.
Yeah, and so the Halo was the only original one because we already had an open turban on the women's side and we had a closed turban on the men's side. What adaptations did you make to the women's product to adapt them to be more geared towards men?
We just eliminated some of the more feminine aspects of it. The women's turban is a little sleeker. It has less fabric. The men's turban we specifically made to be more substantial and bulky so it feels more masculine. There are just like some gathers and things like that we eliminated because it didn't feel like it would appeal to the men's customer. For the men's closed turban, we added more space because typically men who really need to put their hair up have a lot of it. And so we wanted to make sure that it could fit all of that hair in there. So those were the adaptations that we made to our women's product on the closed and open.
And from the production line, how did they pick it up? Was it a smooth transition from the women's products to, I guess, the Halo product? Was the Halo Turban was really the only new and unique one. Were there any kind of like aspects of production that had to change significantly going from the core products that we had to the Halo Turban?
No, if I could brag on my production team, that's usually it's part of the process. He hands it over, and sometimes they help to perfect it. They help to perfect the process, and they know what techniques look best on a product. That was pretty much smooth.
When we first launched the men's turban, as usual, I think we were early on in how we release products, but we've seen this a couple of times. What were some of the issues around the product that we had to quickly follow on and adapt to as product got into people's hands?
As always, it was sizing. Heads are always a difficult thing to size, and the first release is always like an educated guess, honestly. And so we released the product, and we have released it to imitate the snugness of a do-rag, because do-rags are made to, and wave caps are made to have like compression on your hair, and it's made to keep your waves tight and things like that. And so we released it, and they're like, oh my gosh, this thing is so tight. So then we had to adjust that for comfort. And so that's what we did with that product.
Was it just people writing in saying it was too tight, or returns were higher, or what was the signal that said this, we got to make a change here?
Yeah, another facet to it is that we had sizing as well. We did have a spike in returns around specifically our men's Halo Turban, which was produced in 3 different sizes. And so we had to figure out how to communicate sizing better. Headwear isn't something you always wear inside. So a lot of times you buy a cap from the store and it's one size fits all. And communicating how to size yourself to know what size you are was something that we had to experiment with.
Do you remember the early launch strategy that we had around the men's turban? Do you remember how we went through marketing-wise to launch it?
Not exactly. I know that it was fast. I know that we came up with the product, and I think it was fall. So we were just coming out of swim season at the time. And it's like, okay, usually when you come out of season, you want to have another launch so that you don't have too much of a lull. And so we launched it out of the peak season into fall, and we handed it over to our creative director at the time. She came up with the concept. We wanted it to be masculine. She put together a concept for us, and then we went out. At that time, we were mostly going out to Facebook to spread the word about the product, and we launched it in ads.
Speaking of ads, it's an interesting thing when you go into a new market and you don't have any frame of reference for what's appealing and what's not appealing to your new market. And so one of the things that we quickly found, we launched on TikTok and on Facebook and Instagram. And you remember like the dynamics between those two audiences?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Facebook audiences skew much older than even Instagram and definitely TikTok. And there was such a stark difference in the reaction to our models. Now, for background, we got 3 models for our first shoot. And one of them, I think, skewed a little feminine. Just the look skewed a little feminine. And that's something that we still grapple with to this day. Not that femininity is a bad thing, but a lot of times audiences react a certain way, especially a male audience will react a certain way to a man that skews feminine and is trying to sell them something. And that's exactly what happened. And on Facebook, it was a very visceral reaction. Now, it got us attention, like the ads went viral, but that particular model's face, he had such a striking face, striking features, and he just got so much reaction from the customers. Now on TikTok, we didn't even run any ads on TikTok, and that post went viral just for people saying how beautiful his face was. Like, just wow, he looks like, I think they said he looks like Scar from Lion King. So he definitely struck a nerve one way or the other with the audiences, but it was a lesson learned for, okay, who are we trying to speak to? We did a lot of work on building the persona around this product and figuring out how to refine our messaging about the product as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was that first year really of the product was just really just fast learning. Rolled out the product, people wanted it, had to resize it. The first marketing It definitely got people's attention, and just figuring out, okay, like how do you cast? Because we had never sold to men before. And even conversations about, do we split this out into its own brand? How do you support a social profile that was 150,000 people deep, mainly women? Now you have men's product, and how does that blend? How do you have that conversation both to men and women at the same time, where the brand was previously, all the visuals, everything was considered a women's brand? And so taking that and shifting it gradually, I think, was a lot of the work. And then, like you said, just this idea of like, how do we speak towards the guy specifically? Everyone has their own perceptions of themselves. And so how do we make the product feel like a mirror of the guy versus being too aspirational almost? And I think that's probably the difference between the men's content and the women's content, is that women's content, it can be aspirational. The men's content probably does have to be more relatable. So I think that's an interesting thing that we definitely saw. You think back, what do you think? The Halo took off and it wasn't what we expected. Why do you think that was? Why was it the Halo that took off and not the other two styles?
Ironically, I think it was because of that first ad that went, because it took over the ad account. And the way that Facebook ad accounts work is, especially back in time, was if one particular ad is getting a lot of attention, all the money goes there. That product, the product that you're wearing right now, also mimics the silhouette of a do-rag the most. And so it was something more familiar. But I think that even to this day, we have male customers still asking for the men's turban, the men's closed turban, and the men's open turbans. But because that one product took off so much, it kind of sucked all the air out of the room as far as the rest of the business.
I think that the thing that surprised us the most, or me the most, is that we do avoid wearing a do-rag in public. At least I do. And so I think the conversation and what we said was, I think it might have been elevate your do-rag. And so it's this kind of continuous, we talked last week about the why of YGN, and we talked about the sleep turban and why the stigma around the bonnet. And I think that this kind of solved that itch, so to speak, around, okay, yeah, I could wear a do-rag, but I'm going to wear this turban. And that kind of, it feels very familiar, but new. And you probably have a larger segment of the market who can't wear a closed turban. I probably wouldn't wear an open turban. But if you have longer hair, you can wear the Halo Turban. You can wear all three. The other aspect is that, we talked about this a few episodes ago, is that it could be because of COVID. It could just be because of trends. But men are wearing their hair longer, and they are thinking about how to grow their hair out. And there really weren't products as the trend shift as far as how men groom and think about all of their grooming needs. There weren't any products or accessories that considered the textured hair of men who want to grow their hair longer or protect it.
That's so true. And even like just men are just playing with the styling of their hair more. And so it's really an interesting market that's growing, because if you think about silhouettes that have been out there, they've been out there for 20, 30 years. And this is the first, it really has cultural impact, because this is the first product that has really created something new that is becoming widespread across the market.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of cultural impact, there's a saying that says, you want to be a settler because the pioneers end up with arrows in their back. And we're not settlers. We don't have that in us. But as we launched, obviously the popularity took our specific niche by storm. But also we started to see people rip off this product that we had imagined in-house. You want to tell the story of the canary in the coal mine, that we had hit a place where people were watching and wanting to share in the success that we had?
We have a competitor, who I will not name, but they are mostly like the male counterpart to Grace Alea. I was going to say to us, but they make a more basic product. And we saw their name in our orders, and I thought that was interesting. Oh, their name is in our orders. So we took a look, and they were sending it directly to China from our shop. And of course, that raises red flags. You don't send a whole lot of product to China. So we canceled the order. And over the next few weeks, we saw that order come back over and over again from the same customer. And then one day we saw it go to somewhere in the States and we missed it. We caught it after it already shipped. And lo and behold, a couple months later, someone sent us a link to Alibaba, and the product was on Alibaba. And it had become very widespread there. And we went back to our competitor's website, and there it was, the Halo Turban on their website as well. And it was something we saw coming. Once it's out there on Alibaba, there's no stopping it. Because once something has become widespread internationally, it's difficult to enforce. Even if you have a patent in the US, it's difficult to enforce it. And so that's the story of that product. It was ripped off directly from our product. They didn't even bother to create their own pattern. They literally just sent ours to China and got it replicated.
Yeah, and I think it's par for the course. No matter what industry that you're in, people are going to copy or attempt to copy what you do. How do you protect against that? How do you defend what you've created when you know that, okay, this is something that we've created, we know there's a lot of demand. Now, how do you go about protecting against that?
I guess hindsight is 2020. I'm not sure that we ever fully protected against that. But I think it's important that your brand is strong from the beginning in everything that you do, so that when people do copy, inevitably, if anything gets popular, it's going to get copied. But when people do copy, people always know who did it first, because they're very connected with your brand.
Yeah, and I think you're right. There's not much you can do. People are going to copy. Product quality and brand, those are the two things that you can stand on. But also, fortunately, we had the wherewithal to at least attempt to register our IP. You're the design patent holder for the men's Halo Turban. And so why don't you talk about what made you think about doing that, and what does it even mean to have a design patent? What does that mean in the world of intellectual property?
In the world of patents, there are design patents and utility patents. Utility patents protect the function of whatever you created. So if you created something that does something completely new and you had a new way to do it, it will protect that. Design patents protect the ornamental design of something that you created. So the way it looks, the way it's constructed, that is what a design patent will protect. Design patents are more difficult to enforce, but it's definitely good to have it.
And so if it's hard to enforce, what's the use and the purpose of a design patent? Has it been useful to YGN? And if so, how?
We have been able to use it to take down some listings on Temu, on Amazon, and on Etsy. It's an ongoing battle. They pop up every day. You literally have to have someone on staff to sit there and do this all day. But it's a possibility. Now, if I didn't have that patent, it wouldn't be a possibility. So it's a good protection to have, especially if you do have something that's brand new and disrupting a market. I don't know that I would do it for, say, like a t-shirt or something like that, something that's not necessarily disruptive. But if you have a brand new silhouette of something that is disrupting a market, I think it's a good thing to have.
Not only were people stealing the design, but they were just taking the images from our website and putting them up on Alibaba. And that's the thing. It confuses the consumer because it just floods the market and it cheapens the brand. It's almost like having a bunch of knockoffs of a handbag. And so what happens is nobody knows what's real or not, and then nobody even really cares. We definitely face that, especially for this product, that people were just taking our imagery, which, like you said, it's a compliment to the work that you've done and we've done as a team to create a product that the entire market aspires to, because before the Halo Turban, there weren't Halo Turbans out there. But at the same time, it's frustrating because we made the investment to create the awareness in the market and to even shoot those assets. We paid for those assets, and someone comes along and just rips them and is selling off of them.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, more bitter than sweet, but it's bittersweet because it's interesting that in this 7,500 square foot building, we created a thing that within 2 years is now widespread definitely across the country and worldwide. So it's really interesting. Celebrities wearing the style. We see it's really become like a part of the culture, but at the same time, you don't get all the benefit of it because it's been ripped off And it's actually a little more frustrating when it's ripped off at people that aren't part of the culture and ripped off and produced and profited off of by people who are not part of the culture, because it's difficult to see people capitalize on things that they haven't had any input into.
Yeah. There's not really this vested interest in the value of the why does the men's turban exist? Why does this product exist? It's just, let's make some money off of this, and when it's not hot anymore, let's move on to the next thing, or let's rip somebody else's thing off because that's selling a lot. We have the first version of the men's turban, and then there were iterations of the men's turban. And I think this speaks to what we were talking about as far as the dedication to our customers and continuing to refine the product and making it better and better, so our customers know that this product is a YGN product, not some knockoff. And so if somebody came to you and said, oh, I could get this for $2 on AliExpress, or I can get this for $10 or $5 on Amazon, what do you say to them?
I always say AliExpress money gets AliExpress quality. Like, you'll get the quality if you spend $2 on the product. And that's okay for some people, but for some people, they actually want a quality product. And that's what we do here. We make our stuff with amazing quality satin. We continually improve the materials that we're using and the technique that we use to construct the product. And so they say, if you know, you know, you know, those that are in the know, but it's something that we still have to communicate about the value of our product.
So we had the Halo version, the first version, and last year, 2 years after we released the first Halo, we released the V2. So you could still get the V1 and you can get the V2. Why the V2? What was better about it than the V1? Why do some people prefer the V1? And why do some people prefer the V2 version?
After the launch of V1, we got some feedback from our customers. The first set of feedback was that there was a line, a seam down the center that some people don't like. Sometimes when you're wearing it throughout the day, it'll slip up a little bit and that seam will become more prominent. And so V2 was really created to eliminate that aesthetic look of that seam. We eliminated the elastic around the band because some people found it to be uncomfortable to wear throughout the day. And then we made it one size fits most to make it less confusing to purchase and eliminate some of the confusion around sizing.
You talk about the sizing, and you guys had, I think from the design team, you had an idea about how to communicate sizing and what shift when we first started selling the product and how we communicate sizing to now with the V1 Halo that still does have 2 sizes. How do you communicate that to customers, and how do we shift that?
So we started with just doing small, medium, and large, medium, large, and large extra large, or 3 size. And I believe we put a size chart with inches of the circumference of the head that would correspond to.
That sounds confusing.
Yeah, most people don't have measuring tape to measure the circumference of their head when they're purchasing a head wrap on the store. So what we did was we created a chart that aligned it with the sizes of fitted caps. And so that reached much more of the market in a way that was more relatable, because if you know what your fitted hat size is, you can go on the website and buy your turban.
Yeah. And what was cool about that from a marketing perspective is that it does anchor back to, if you wear fitted, this is in the same vein of a fitted hat. So you have your fitted hats, you have your Halo turbans, you can wear both, that type of thing. So I think that's definitely clever to position it that way. We've played with different colors, we've played with different patterns, and we've also played with different textures around the Halo turban. What have we learned around what people really like, and what have we learned about the styles that people really get excited about with the Halo turban?
So when we first launched, I think we launched in 3 basic colors. I believe it was like black, cognac, and navy or something like that. And we did that just to test the waters. And then that next season, we got a lot of, can we get more color? Can we get fun prints? Can we get all types of stuff? And we did that, and we lost a ton of prints. And they actually didn't do very well. So what we learned was that those core colors, are especially in the men's market, are what's going to be the bread and butter. And then we're still exploring what patterns men will gravitate the most to. In our most recent collection, we did a lot of classic patterns, plaids, paisley, like a do-rag pattern. And those, I think, we're getting closer to the aesthetic of the market.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting that 3 going on 4 years in, we're still learning what the market wants. And it's almost like a moving target, because what was relevant color styling wise 3 years ago or 4 years ago, maybe there are shades of that today. The market also moves. So we're learning based on these dynamics. Looping back around to the other products in the men's line, what do you think about those products? How do you think about the future of the full men's turban line? What would you love to see us venture into over the next few years?
Those turban, I think I'm going to bring those back to the drawing board on the design side, but I do think that the need is still there for them. We have a active lock sleeve that our men also gravitate to that I think will be great in the satin line version. But in general, the men's line, it just has so much room for growth, because there's clearly a market for men that want to accessorize in new ways. And right now, for the most part, the bulk of what we are selling is Halo turbans. And there are just so many other ways that we can innovate in that market.
You remember the conversation behind elevating the do-rag? And we've worked with a few creators who are really great storytellers, and they were talking about, oh, I don't want to go outside my do-rag. I'm going to use the YGN. And I always think it is interesting because it always hits a nerve, because in some ways people take pride in wearing the do-rag. Another faction says, oh, this isn't something that I would want to be seen out with. This is a reminder that we serve a market, and even the market that we serve, there's not just one person in the market. And that some people are going to say, oh, I'm going to wear my do-rag. Or some people are going to say, oh, this isn't tight enough to keep my waves tight. There's some learning around the nuance in the market when you're selling these types of products. I think that's sometimes what bigger brands miss, or like we were saying, competitors come in and think, oh, it's these people, let's make this one thing. And what you find is when you drill down, it's not just one person.
Yeah, for sure. And there's that underlying conversation of respectability politics where, if you wear a certain thing, if you wear your bonnet outside, if you wear your do-rag outside, you're no longer respectable. And I think that people are rejecting that. So just knowing how to be part of that conversation in a way that respects that conversation and understands that perspective is also just a nuance to working in this market. And so I feel like it is an elevation to the do-rag. So some people will still wear the do-rag, go down to the grocery store, but if you're going out on a date, guys will put this on. And we notice that our men's customer is really putting it on. They're putting it on with their outfits. They're like with their kicks and all that. And so they're dressing this up in a way that they probably wouldn't have dressed up a do-rag.
Yeah, this is something that we have seen multiple times before. If you can articulate or at least show where this fits in someone's life, then they'll take it. They'll say, okay, I'm going to wear this in this situation. I'm going to wear my fitted when I do this. It's crazy when you see the product out now, but when you go out and you actually see it out there and people are actually wearing it. So everyone has their different use cases for when they want to wear the products.
So what's interesting, and I see it out often, I don't know if you ever asked them where they got it from. We were at a festival and we asked a guy where he got his from, and he was almost embarrassed because he had gotten his first set from us and we didn't say who we were. He said, hey, where'd you get it from? He said he got his first set from us and he got the second set from Amazon, but go to the one in Dallas. There is some visibility and recognition of the brand, but it's just about that consumer's decision and what they have to make at checkout.
Right now I'm wearing the V1, the V2s have the logo on it. And I think that also when we saw Lil Nas wear it, that now that, like you said, like there is something about showing people that you're wearing the real thing. And that's something that I think we're starting to learn about, is that people do have pride in the product and we're trying to give you the validation that you got the real thing, and people can't confuse it. And you can't really confuse that you got the YGM V2 Halo anymore because we have the logo on it now. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that decisioning around the V2 and how we decided to move that elevation up.
Yeah, there's a lot more than usual care that goes into creating the two products. We have it's branded with our logo, a metal logo, the closure at the back. It just takes a lot more skill to create than the V1 product. And the elevation in price just reflects that. But the reason that we created that way was to give a more luxe experience to that customer that we had already seen, putting us alongside their best sneakers and their like fly car, and they put it on and we just wanted to match that energy. And so that really is why we created that B2 product, just to, like I said, match that energy with our customer. What they were giving to us, we wanted to give it right back.
Yeah, I think that is, it's exciting to watch and even learn. Our male customer probably skews a little bit younger in the 25 to 35 range, and our female spans maybe 27 to 54. The design process is also different, and the marketing process is also different, because we're thinking about how you as a person, how consumer as a person is the life that they're living, and how does this fit into their life. It isn't just, oh, we had the female turban, we're now making men's turbans. We're like thinking about, okay, this is the person who's wearing the men's turban, and how can we continue to support him along his journey? And even women wear the Halo turban. I guess we shouldn't even just call them men's turbans. Women wear the Halo turbans as well. How do we support you along your journey with this product? Because it becomes part of your identity in a lot of ways. I know we talked a little bit about room in the line for things we already have. Are there other products or gaps in this market that if you could go after them, you would today?
In the men's market, yeah, for sure. I think there's something in between like a men's bonnet and a do-rag that guys are wanting right now to sleep in. I'm not sure what that thing is. I really have to sit down and brainstorm about it. But when I get incoming comments from customers, it's always about sleep. And I'm like, you guys have do-rags, you can get a bonnet. They even have men's bonnet out there. So there's something missing. I don't know what it is, and I have to do digging to find it, but there's something missing in that market right now.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a pain point, and it's something where, like you said, once your hair gets too long, the do-rag doesn't do the job. No pun intended. And I think that's probably why I'm excited to see what that ends up being. Maybe it's in 2024, maybe it's beyond, but I'm excited to see what that might end up being. So it's fun to be able to call the shot. You have anything else about the men's turban that you think, the story of the men's turban, how you think about the men's turban and how it addresses the market, that you want to share?
No, but I'm so glad to have our men's customers. They just add a different spice into the mix, and they bring so much energy. So I'm so glad that we did launch this product, and it's been so much fun to watch how it has grown and integrated into the world. And that's been one of the most fun products to work with.
Thanks, Monique. We will be back same time, same place next week. Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, email us at natureofthebusiness@yougonatural.com. Drop us a note on social media, or just email us at contact@yougonatural.com. Thanks so much, everyone. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.